was preparing for invasion, and Hitler in Germany was preparing to invade England. Now, of course, we know England is an island, and so there was a little bit of water between them. And they were trying to figure out how to defend, and London was being bombed. And during this time, Hitler decided one night to send an airplane under cover of darkness deep into the territory of England and drop off 2 paratroopers. Now, these were spies. And so he went at nighttime with that airplane, the airplane that Hitler ordered out there, and way behind enemy lines, it dropped the 2 soldiers, turned around, and went back to Germany. Now, it thought nobody saw what happened. But what Hitler did not know is that the radar had been invented, and England had developed the capacity to see in the dark. So England was watching as that airplane came in, and they quickly sent out troops, and they watched the airplane turn around and leave, and they figured that it had made a drop. So they sent the soldiers in, and as soon as the 2 paratroopers hit the ground, there was military that arrested them. Now Hitler knew nothing that his spies had been captured. Well, they were interrogated. They told what they were about to do, and so the military leadership of England decided to do an experiment. Instead of putting them in prison, and instead of hiding them, why don't we allow them to send messages back, but we will control the messages. So they got the 2 spies, and we'll call you a spy A, and we'll call you spy B. Okay? Now, spy A always sent home messages that always told the truth. Spy A would say, there's 150 airplanes on the field preparing. And Hitler's airplanes would go over, and they would count the airplanes, and there was 150 airplanes. One day, Spy A said, there's going to be an invasion. Several thousand soldiers are going to attack in this area. And so Hitler went over there, and sure enough, he was waiting, and he captured most and killed many of those thousands of soldiers. Now you would ask, why would England send its soldiers to the front lines and then tell Hitler? They basically sacrificed their soldiers. They wanted to build the credibility of this spy. And every time the spy told the truth, the generals back at home would say, we have a good spy. That spy is always giving us good information. Now, spy B, on the other hand, always got it wrong. Spy B would say, there's not going to be an invasion, and there would be one. Spy B would say, there's no airplanes, and they found out there was airplanes. Spy B would say, they're going to move here, and they wouldn't. They would move over there. And so finally the military figured it out back in Germany. We can always depend on this spy. But this spy, you can never depend on, because that spy always gets the wrong information. Now, several years went by, and the spies kept sending home in German coded messages with information. Always this information was wrong, always this information was right. Now, it came time for the end of the war. America and its allies planned for a final invasion of Europe. They decided they were going to attack through Normandy, the beaches of France. And they were going to go in and they were going to take France. And then they would go in and grab Germany. And then came the day, the famous day we know as D-Day. The day of the invasion. Have you heard of D-Day? Okay. On that one time, and only that one time, Spy A and Spy B reversed positions. Spy A said, there will be no invasion. Spy B said, they're going to invade in Normandy. Now, who do you think the generals believed? They said, we could never believe this spy. What do you mean, invade in Normandy? No, this could not be true. Now, this spy says there will be no invasion. So therefore, we will not prepare, we will not launch our troops, we will simply remain calm. And lo and behold, the invasion took place. Now, it took several years for the Allies to build up the credibility of this spy, correct? They even sacrificed some of their soldiers in order to make it look like this time this was a real thing. And this spy always told a lie. But on that one day, and only that day, this spy told the truth. But Hitler did not believe this spy. Now, Satan has had 6,000 years to develop his lies. And Sister White says that Satan's deceptions today are 20 times greater than they were at the beginning, because he's had time to learn how to be deceptive. 20 times. That means that if you normally think, then you would naturally believe something that would be a lie. In fact, in Matthew 24, Jesus said, if it were possible, he would deceive even the very elect. Do you consider yourself part of the very elect? Huh? You think about this. By the way, who are the very elect? Well, you can say, if you come to this church, we know that we're the remnant people. And we are. But are you the part of the very elect? Because the majority of God's remnant people are not ready. And even those that are ready, those are the ones that I would say is the elect. Even if it were possible, even those that are ready would be deceived, if it were possible. That's how deceptive it would be. So we have to ask ourselves a question. Could it be that I am believing a lie? Could it be that what I think is going to happen is totally different than what really is going to happen? Could it be that I'm comfortable thinking I'm okay when I'm not okay? Wouldn't it be fair to ask yourself that question? Yes or no? Y'all are sounding like you're sitting in England in the Anglican church. Very quiet and solemn. I need your feedback, okay? I want to make sure you're not asleep. Or we can sleep together maybe. But tonight we're not going to sleep, we're going to be awake, okay? Now, could it be possible, theoretically possible, that you and I are comfortable when we should be uncomfortable? Could it be theoretically possible that what we think is happening is not really happening? Okay? Could it be possible that Satan has planted some lies in our mind that at the very last minute will turn out, we think is truth, but turn out to be lies? Okay. You're following along now. I appreciate your feedback. Now, let me ask you something else. Could it be possible that Satan has used some of the world's information systems to plant ideas in our mind that are wrong? Like maybe movies, television, novels, telenovelas, music, where we think like, well, as long as the words are okay, it doesn't matter what the music's like. Or it's a nice speaker, they preach nice things, so it must be true. Or could it be like, well, everybody's telling me things are going well, so therefore I'm going to sleep a little longer. Do you understand some of the subtleties? Like, I was in France, and some of the young people, the pastor told me, you know how sometimes we're tempted to believe that immorality is not that important? And some of the young people had begun lowering their standards about morality. And some of the leadership had said, oh, don't worry about it, to the pastor. We live in France. We have to get used to this. As long as the pastors are not immoral. But it's okay if the members are. Is this okay? No, it isn't. Because we get so used to the world, we kind of feel like, well, if the rest of the world's like that, then probably it's okay for me too. You see, even church leadership, because church leadership is just like I am and just like you are. We're all human. We're subject to believing that everything is okay when it really isn't. And when suddenly we discover that the crisis is here, what happens? We then realize, I wasn't ready. There's no oil in my lamp. Now, we're going to talk about some of the things that are coming on the world and some of the things we can do to prepare. Let's imagine, for example, that were going to go to the Olympics.